and studying trauma in relation to racism or microaggression. Basically, some of the things that Black Americans have gone through when it comes to that racial trauma perspective. What's up, fam? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Phil Sarpong. If it's your first time here, welcome. This is Phil's Guide to PsyD. This channel is dedicated to all things psychology, wellness, and graduate school. Basically, what I do on this channel is that any questions that you guys have about psychology, wellness, or graduate school, basically you can ask those questions in the comment section below. You can also feel free to send me a message on Instagram about questions that you might have. I do my best on this channel to answer those questions through the videos that I do. So the question that we have today is some of the basic integration pieces of mixing psychology with a number of different things. Now, I've talked about it before. I'm actually really passionate about just wellness in general, not just for your physical health, but also for your mental and spiritual health. Now, I do believe that there is definitely a place for psychology and spirituality to integrate. There may be some people that feel otherwise, or they feel like that is something that they do not really mesh with. But I do come from a spiritual Christian background. Now, I've been getting some questions from some of you about what are some of the ways that I could integrate those two fields, the realm of psychology and the realm of spirituality. And actually, one of the things that I've been doing for my research project is specifically studying populations, Black American populations, and studying trauma in relation to racism or microaggression. Basically, some of the things that Black Americans have gone through when it comes to that racial trauma perspective. And so I've been studying that in a number of different populations across the board in America, specifically in Black populations, and how that affects their physical health, how that affects their mental health, and also how that affects their spiritual health. And a number of things that people can take away from spiritual activities is that people can actually find a lot of hope and joy and community in spiritual communities. And again, I'm not saying that, all spiritual churches and things like that are perfect or anything like that. I know there's a number of people that maybe have gone through some pretty traumatic spiritual experiences that have actually impacted their mental and physical health. So I do want to be cognizant of that, but I'm just saying for those who do find a lot of joy, a lot of passion, a lot of fruitful times with their spiritual community, basically, how does that affect, and going through racism or going through microaggression, how does that affect their spirituality? How does racial trauma specifically affect their spiritual health? And let's say they do have a certain healthy spiritual lifestyle. How does their spiritual lifestyle affect how they view racism or how they view microaggression? Again, there's a lot of different positive outlooks that could happen from someone that has a positive spiritual experience. I mean, there are people that can actually go through and overcome a lot of trauma just by being in a healthy spiritual community. And so that is definitely one of my interests and something that I see of something that I could actually potentially go into even after graduate school in studying this specific field of spirituality and psychology and how racial trauma affects spirituality and vice versa, how spirituality affects racial trauma. So that is just one example perhaps of how psychology could mix with spirituality. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the client, right? It's about the patient, it's about whoever you are in the therapeutic space with and about where they are at. And sometimes it does do a lot of good to sort of deconstruct some of perhaps spiritual trauma that someone has faced, or to maybe lift up that spiritual environment because it has been healthy for a certain individual and helping them overcome with whatever life has to give. So I know this is a little bit of a different video, a little bit of a different feel to it, but I would love to know your guys' opinions and perspectives of having psychology as its field integrating with other fields. And this is already being done in so many different ways. I mean, there's engineering in psychology, there's sports in psychology, there's neuropsychology, there's counseling psychology, there's school psychology, there's all these different specialties, but then there's also all of these different niches that people could also go into. And so I would definitely be interested in figuring out or finding out from you guys what some of the niches are that you are passionate about. Maybe you're passionate about OCD, or maybe you are passionate about eating disorders or autism or whatever it is. And I think there's always sort of a place for your own personal interest with kind of coupling with psychology in the field in general, because at the end of the day, you actually will probably find patients or clients that are struggling through some of these things, and the research that you do in your particular interest could really help someone else in the future. And so that's part of the reason that, you know, not only am I passionate about this in my personal life, but I do think that there's definitely some good that can come out of this in helping other people in their particular communities, whether it's spiritual or racial trauma or things like that. If you guys have any questions about that, definitely put it down in the comment section below. But again, I would love to know all the other niches that you guys are looking into, that you guys are excited for, that you guys are studying out or researching or whatever it is. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you guys in the next video.